Hi guys, and welcome to the Building in Perth podcast again with your host Chris Holland. Now, today's podcast is going to be about one of our local lenders here called 𝗘𝗽𝗶𝘀.
Welcome property investors. This is the Building in Perth podcast. If you're a property investor or you're curious about investing in property in Western Australia, this is the podcast for you. The reason for that is we're not going to hold back. We're not going to sugarcoat things. We're certainly not going to bullshit you. And we're going to exploit everything that you need to know. There's a lot of negative press at the moment in WA regarding building, and it doesn't have to be. So what we're going to do is help you navigate through that bullshit and create your wealth free of charge. We're just giving you this information. Every month we're going to have special guests on who are industry professionals, and then we're going to release an episode every single Monday. So you're not going to miss anything. So please stay tuned, like, subscribe so you never miss anything, and enjoy.
And what 𝗘𝗽𝗶𝘀 is basically known for is low deposit home loans. Now, we're just going to unpack a few things about 𝗘𝗽𝗶𝘀 because some 5 years ago, let's say, 𝗘𝗽𝗶𝘀 had a real negative name in the industry. However, that changed very quickly 2-3 years ago when the government grants came in, and basically every man and their dog started building houses, which is why we have this mini building boom. There was 35,000 homes sold over that period of time, with 71% of them being 𝗘𝗽𝗀. 𝗘𝗽𝗀 currently has home loans in Western Australia only of 121,000. So they're not a small bank. Obviously, they're nowhere near like ANZ, NAB, Commonwealth, Westpac, etc. But they are very, very good, essentially, for people who don't have huge deposits. So let's get into it. 𝗘𝗽𝗀. What is 𝗘𝗽𝗀? It's a government body. It was founded in 1989, and it was basically to help people who didn't have a deposit of 5%, or sometimes back then you needed a 20% deposit to avoid this big thing that we all talk about called lender's mortgage insurance. What is lender's mortgage insurance? It's basically an insurance the bank takes out against you to protect themselves. Now, normally to avoid LMI, as its abbreviated term is, you need a 20% deposit. So goes without saying, on a $500,000 mortgage, that's $100,000 as a deposit you need. Now, it's safe to say not a lot of people have that sort of money. Okay. Now, there are lots of pros and cons with 𝗘𝗽𝗀. They don't just lend to anybody. Generally speaking, it's low income earners. For couples, it's $155,000 per year combined. And for a single applicant, it's $105,000. So if you fit in those categories, then you will be applicable for 𝗘𝗽𝗀. Now, there's lots of other things that come and go between these policies. They're constantly changing. It's really good to engage. You can engage 𝗘𝗽𝗀 yourself as a client. You can speak directly to 𝗘𝗽𝗀, or you can speak with a mortgage broker who is a platinum member of 𝗘𝗽𝗀, which means they deal a lot with 𝗘𝗽𝗀. So basically, for this podcast, if you are someone that's maybe got $1,000 to $10,000 in the bank and you're sick of renting because obviously rent prices are going up significantly, well, this one's for you. Okay. Good thing about 𝗘𝗽𝗀 is it's only a 2% deposit. So based on that, again, if it would, now 𝗘𝗽𝗀 actually don't borrow up to $500,000. The maximum is $470. But for instance, for talking sakes, $5,000, $500,000, 2% of that would be $10,000. So a lot more achievable naturally. Okay. Now, obviously, if this is your first home, you still get $10,000 first homeowners grant, which basically covers that deposit cost, right? You never get to see the $10,000 the government give you. Basically, they pay it to your bank of choice, and it comes off what your total loan amount is. So for instance, again, just using round numbers so it's easy for everyone to work out. If it was a $500,000 mortgage, 𝗘𝗽𝗀 require $10,000. The government's going to give you $10,000. You don't actually pay a deposit to the bank. What you will pay still is a deposit to secure your block of land. Generally speaking, a deposit to the builder, and then your settlement agent fees and any other small fees that may come included in that. So in short, guys, basically, if you're going to go a low deposit home loan option, you need about $5,000 in the bank. Okay. Any less than that, you'll be clutching at straws because you will have to secure a block of land. You will have to pay a builder somewhat of a deposit, and then you will pay settlement agent fees, which is about $800 later on. So if you got $5,000 in the bank and you're paying sort of upwards of $600 a week in rent, potentially you could get yourself in a brand new estate and a brand new home that you've designed for $5,000. So why wouldn't you? Now, 𝗘𝗲𝗏's interest rate, one of the negatives, or one of the cons I should say, is it is a little bit higher. 𝗘𝗲𝗏's current interest rate is 7.6, but this fluctuates monthly as well. It used to be a combination of the big four banks. 𝗘𝗲𝗏, when they had interest rate rises, 𝗘𝗲𝗏 would raise their interest rate. Now they actually go off the Reserve Bank's interest rate, okay? The big banks are sitting between 6.4 and 6.7, roughly, for variable. If you can get it down to 5.9, you're doing very well. Plug for Wealth Finance currently, they just refinanced my mortgage, which was 6.43, something like that, and Johnny got me set across to put down to 5.9, which is good in this market. So in short, 7.6 is the current interest rate, but it does fluctuate up and down, okay? In saying that, although it is probably like $150 extra a week on average for your repayments, once you're in the home, that is, there's no deposit. You don't have to come up with a $25,000 deposit. It's more like a $5,000. So what you're going to be paying for an extra $150 a week, let's say, would take you 3 years in order to counter the extra that you would need for that deposit, if that makes sense. Now, one negative about 𝗘𝗲𝗏 some 5 years ago was you were locked in to 𝗘𝗲𝗏 for a certain amount of time. Again, these policies change all the time, but basically when you get your keys to your new home, you had to live in there for a year, 2 years, 3 years before you could refinance to another bank. Now, 𝗘𝗲𝗏 will let you refinance immediately. Okay, so that's brilliant. That's really good news. What refinance means, guys, is once you get your keys to your new property and you have enough equity and or cash in the bank, 𝗘𝗲𝗏 will let you break free of charge, and join another bank at a lower interest rate. So if you're smart about the way you're investing, or you're smart about the potential place that you're going to invest in, or build in, I should say, yeah, you can, if you've got enough equity of 10%, which can be made up of cash and or property equity, you can refinance immediately. So how good is that? No lender's mortgage insurance with 𝗘𝗲𝗏, and no monthly fees. Most banks charge you fees, although they're minimal. It does add up, especially over the course of a 30-year mortgage. They don't charge you any monthly fees. Basically, 𝗘𝗲𝗏 makes the money by charging that little bit higher interest rate. Okay, so it is really good for a lot of people to consider 𝗘𝗲𝗏. There was this idea in the building space that 𝗘𝗲𝗏 was negative. I don't believe so. I think it's actually amazing, and the fact that you can refinance straight away is just, yeah, phenomenal, to be honest. So, as I said, there's a few other things to be eligible for 𝗘𝗲𝗏. You have to be minimum 18 years or older, which is pretty standard. You have to be an Australian citizen or a permanent resident, and you have to live in Western Australia, okay? 𝗘𝗲𝗏 do established home loans as well as brand new homes, so building your home. However, they are not set up for that. They are a bank that predominantly does new home loans, basically. So when you're building a house, 𝗘𝗲𝗏's for you. If you're buying an established property, you don't really get the benefits as much as, as you would like, basically. So there's another option in 𝗘𝗲𝗏 called shared equity, which could be applicable to some people, basically, where 𝗘𝗲𝗏 owns a percentage of the property and you own a percentage of the property. This could be good if you're just not ready or not sure about potentially building at the moment. You want to get into the market, but you don't want to take the full responsibility of the repayments and or the debt, but you just want to dabble into property. 𝗘𝗲𝗏 have an option for this as well. Okay. It's super easy to refinance. It doesn't cost you anything to refinance. Basically, at the moment, people refinance within 5 years, 5 to 7, statistically speaking. But if you do have 10% equity and or cash in the bank or a mixture of both, you can refinance straight away. Now, what's quite interesting, if you're an 18, 19, 20-year-old and you potentially want to do this, what we can actually do is during the construction, just before you get your keys, if mum or dad or a family friend can gift you that amount. So again, 10% of a $500,000 house is $50,000. Now, this is only if the property hasn't increased in value of $50,000 from the time of building, which in the last couple of years, that's happened pretty much nearly in every household. But to be safe, if it hasn't, what you can do is get a gift of mum and dad or a family friend. Well, basically they place $50,000 into your bank account. We let it sit there for a little bit, 3 months, let's say, then we can refinance. So if they were in a financial position that they could do that, basically as soon as you get your keys, you can refinance immediately. So there's lots of tips and tricks in order to, let's say, beat the system as such, but 𝗘𝗲𝗏 do have many pros. Another great benefit that 𝗘𝗲𝗏 have is the interest-only repayments during the construction, okay? So basically, let's go with that $500,000 figure again. The repayments on that roughly is $800 a week. Now, let's say you are renting for $600 a week currently while you were going through this process. What 𝗘𝗲𝗏 do is charge you the difference between your current rent and your future mortgage. So therefore, if you're renting for $600 and your future repayments are going to be $800, 𝗘𝗲𝗏 wants $200 a week off you during the construction. Now, this is really, really good and quite important because the big banks don't operate like this. They take a percentage of your home loan at slab down and or settlement of the block of land, roughly around 50% of what the total repayments are going to be. So if you went for a big bank, the repayments on a $500,000 mortgage might be $720, let's say. They might start taking repayments off you at settlement for roughly $300 per week. And as the build progresses and we hit stage claims, which we've covered in other podcasts, so when we get to slab down, then plate high, then roof cover, etc., these repayments will increase from $300 to $370 to $450, etc., and it continues until it reaches that sort of top repayment schedule. So therefore, you're actually paying a lot more during the construction with the big banks than you do with 𝗘𝗲𝗏. So again, another huge plus, in my opinion, for 𝗘𝗲𝗏. So for people that are just really, really struggling to save money in terms of a deposit, and look, don't get me wrong, at the time of recording, we're in October at the moment, we're only a couple of months away until Christmas. Everybody spends money at Christmas. We take annual leave. Generally, there's a couple of weeks off. Some people go to Bali and such. We spend a lot of money, and then we come back to January and we find ourselves in the same position as last January and go, I better start saving again. Well, 𝗘𝗲𝗏 offers a solution for that, basically. So, in short, guys, if you've got $5,000 in the bank, you're sick of paying rent, you're sick of not being able to paint the walls, you're sick of not allowing to have pets, and you want to build your own home, and you want to find out more about 𝗘𝗲𝗏, all you got to do is drop me a message, hit me up, and I'll help you throughout the process. Personally, I've helped over 300 clients through the 𝗘𝗲𝗏 process, and everyone has been relatively happy. Don't get me wrong, they are a government bank. They are not the quickest at responding, but we hire a mortgage broker on your behalf to do all the communications with these guys, okay? So if you're sick of renting, if you're young and you're just curious about potentially building using 𝗘𝗲𝗏, just reach out. It doesn't cost you anything to get some more information on the product. However, in short, what I'm saying is 𝗘𝗲𝗏's not bad. It had a bad name. It's now got a good name in the industry. And as I said, they've helped over 121,000 people in Western Australia. So they must be doing something right. If you're sick of renting and you want to get into your own home and you've not got more than $5,000 or $10,000 in the bank, this could be an option for you. So cheers for tuning in, guys. Short and quick one today. What are you waiting for? Let's do it. Thanks, guys. Cheers. Bye.